Hello and welcome to the Do's and Don'ts of D&D episode. Let's see, we have this is either 3 or 4. I like how I've only just started and I can't even remember. That's bad. Now, this one's directed to all of you, especially the newer players out there. I'm just going to give you my opinions on strategies on how to basically entering and exiting combat. So, of course, basic strategy, probably the most obvious one is try and get surprise attacks and be realistic. Don't be like, okay, I'm gonna sneak up in the middle of this fort and in the middle of this enemy encampment and kill off the commander. You're not gonna be able to do that, but you might be able to sneak around and set up traps. Like one of the games I played a long time ago, I was. Let's see, let me just think about this. So basically, we had an enemy fort, we were outnumbered, and we were a little worried that we'd get slaughtered if we didn't do things right. So what we did was we snuck around the forest and set up some traps. Now this is easily done. What my strategy is usually you would have like a lookout, and then you'd also have your whoever else you have with you to set up the traps. Unless you're on your own, then set up the traps. Then you'd usually have like some archer fire off around and then run off into the forest, and then they'll run through the traps. Hopefully your fighters can get an ambush on them. Maybe you can cast darkness on the area to make the traps even worse for them or something. This is one of the only times I'd recommend casting darkness, because I don't know. I don't like the spell. Another way, of course, is... One way is always, if you have someone who can disguise themselves, you could always trick the opponent and get around the fight. Now, I know many DMs out there, eventually maybe one or two of you will listen to this. I know exactly what it feels like when you set up a big, cool encounter for a fight, and then your players just pass around it. But you should encourage this. It makes it a bit more dynamic. And then it also means that you'll have to build your worlds accordingly. Now, of course, in every encounter for the players, I'd recommend always check for traps on doors and then in items. And always, any metal object that's just lying around randomly, use detect magic on it. You don't want to pick up a sword and then realize that it's some form of mimic. And you don't want to put your hand into a mimic chest. Now, don't just do it continuously, or else it slows the game down and it's boring. Only do it when it really makes sense. Now, the DMs out there should be giving you small little hints. You should be catching on to tiny little things where they'll say something a little bit differently. Like they'll say, oh, there's this golden chest, or they'll describe it slightly differently, and you just need to look for those key factors, because usually that's how you'll catch traps and magical items, and also secret doors. And then I know this one's gonna be quite a bit shorter. It's like how to start a fight, like starting in the basics of encounters is basically this episode. I'm guessing that'll probably be the title. I don't know yet. I don't write a script because I just haven't had the time. I just do these when I can. But I don't know. Of course, just as always, leave your comments below on how you like to start off encounters. Because there's the basic strategies of always pulling them into traps and stuff if you can. And then always sending your scout like 30 feet up stealthily. And then you guys sneaking behind if you're going into enemy territory. And then, and then of course, arming yourself to the teeth. So like, because it's always a good strategy. I have a player who, in our current campaign, because they knew they were going into a war zone, found a ballista they could mount on a cart that would be towed behind their main cart that was attached to their horses. And this allows them basically to enter combat better. And then other things in encounters, sometimes you'll have random players that'll show up and stuff. I'd always recommend looking for the smaller details. The DM will always leave little small details, because it's really hard to catch them, and if you're not looking, even if you're looking, it's still hard to catch them, so that's why I don't believe saying this is metagaming. As well as, it forces your DM to storytell in a better way. And then if they're not giving any hints, always call them out on that. I'd always recommend calling your DM out if they're not, if they're not, explaining things with a hint. Because I know I've had that issue or there's just miscommunication, and always make sure you're talking to your DM. Now, I know the last couple episodes were made mainly for the DMs, so I'm sorry about that, everyone. But of course, it's just, I don't have an excuse, but yeah, I think that's basically it. I'll probably get into more specific strategies in later episodes, and if you guys want me to talk about anything, please just comment. And that's all. Peace out, everybody. And have a good day or night, whichever's coming up for you.